What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Today on this fine Thursday, few days after reset for the final shape, giving y'all another exotic guide to grab the Still Hunt exotic sniper rifle that is in our energy slot, using that special ammo which has the Cade's Retribution on it, where you can turn this thing into a golden gun when you charge it up. It is super fun to use, pairs with Celestial Nighthawk as well, so there's some little things that are just immaculate about it. But we are going to cover how to grab this thing and then go over its perks as well at the very end. So first off, you do have to progress through the story and finish it off, because with the wild card, I wasn't able to grab it until Cade was at the tower, and I was actually progressing through one of my other exotic quests for that Ergo Summon the Exotic Sword. I do have a guide on that one as well in the upper left hand corner, so you all can check that out if you would like. But during that quest, one of the steps is to talk to Cade 6, where he progresses that quest as well as this one lingering inside of his little inventory. So you collect the wild card exotic quest, which will have you actually start by completing the mission wild card, which is actually on the Pale Heart. If you load to this loading zone right here and follow the path I'm taking, it starts right up by this little flag here, where this mission is decently long, helping the Crow as well as good old Cade 6 take care of some enemies in the Pale Heart that has been dealing with the ether on the planet. So let's get into it. So when we load into the mission, we're going to have to investigate certain areas around the map that are dealing with or emitting little pools of ether underneath them, as well as deal with a bunch of exploding screebs as we progress through this mission, because these are like corrupted screebs that have some of that dark energy and ether attached to them. So we are using the investigation to see what those guys are doing, and then as well as collecting some of the ether that they have on them. When we actually get to the final area after investigating and clearing out a bunch of those ads, we are able to set up a little camp for the Crow as well as Cade inside of the Pale Heart right here, so they can travel here with us, as well as have a little ether collector so they can continue their research. Next off, like I said, we are collecting some more of that tainted dark ether from a bunch of the screebs around the area, so they'll point us waypoint to waypoint, collecting about 4 of those dark ethers every single time in a different area. When that actually updates, we have to go investigate a energy signature that is throwing off our ether signatures, and they actually lead to some crazy cabal as well as fallen little energies that seem to have all of the ether taken from them, so they are just like husks. Come to find that creating these husks are a devourer of tainted light, so the witness has one of those powerful yellow bar dogs running around eating the ether off of these other creatures inside of the Pale Heart, collecting it. So during this, we just go around and try to defeat this nice yellow bar dog. Like I said, we go from area to area, defeating a bunch of Taken inside of these little barriers, then do some damage on the boss, rinse and repeat because his shield keeps coming up. But once you defeat him, it's a pretty easy little process with finding this energy signature. He will drop a little pool underneath him, where we go investigate it once again and return back to that base camp, where we talk to the Crow as well as our boy Cade. When we return, we find out that the ether barrel that we have been using has been stolen, so we go around the area clearing out a bunch of Taken after doing a little meditation nap, clearing a bunch of blights out of the areas right here inside of the Pale Heart. Again, pretty easy. There's just a couple enemies around each of the blights. After you defeat the major enemies around the area, all the blights will end up being destroyed. So So it is 4 for the first round that you have to go through. The second round is only 2 blights, but it basically circles us back to our camp where we talk to the crow and learn about his and Cade's relationship a little bit more, since Aldrin was the one that basically sent good old Cade here, but also wished him back with that 15th wish and coming to the Pale Heart here. Cade finally finds out who steals our little barrel of energy, where we head on a little path over to a waypoint where we have to investigate more Fallen, where we figure out that there is a mega shank that is actually controlling all of these little shanks around and was one of the reasons that the ether was stolen. So we go through this little fight where we have to stay inside of this room here while defeating a bunch of these different types of shanks, exploder, tracer, normal shanks, as well as the boss, the mega shank in the area. Make sure that you don't go too far out of this room because there is one of those head back to the playing area or you will die kind of things, but it is a pretty easy thing if you use a scout, pulse rifle, even auto rifle is able to reach out and hit the enemies in the distance there. But once you defeat the boss, it drops that barrel of ether that they stole. Everybody is a little bit sad about it because they spent so much time collecting it, but once we go back to the old camp and talk to the crow as well as Cade, we continue our operation once again to find our actual barrel, because just that big old shank was consuming so much ether that it left that little pool there. Moving on to the last little parts of the energy signature and this mission. It was a decently long mission to go through. It took me about 35-40 minutes to go through this solo just because of all the going back and forth and cutscenes, but at the very end here we track the energy of that dark ether from the camp that they stole the barrel from, which takes us on this nice long path of the mission through different areas of the Pale Heart, where we get to the Screeb hole where the Screeb bosses are, and the actual barrel has been found, where we deal with this big abomination in here that is the actual culprit of stealing all the ether around. Pretty easy fight, just a lot of Screeb keep spawning, so you gotta watch out for that. And again, once his shield comes up in this boss fight, you have to defeat these tainted Screebs, so they will drop some orbs for you or some motes of that ether, where we deposit it back in our barrel to undo his shield. Continue until you can DPS again, and then once you beat him, you get a really cool cutscene with Aldrin and Cade doing the last steps, burying him in this cage, which was magnificent to see the teamwork of them. After all of that, we head on back to the camp to celebrate with Cade and Aldrin, or the crow, where Cade offers Aldrin the actual spot of the Hunter Vanguard, which is a truly special thing. The crow doesn't know if he is worthy of it, but everybody, including Ikora and Zavala, think he is ready and that he is a changed person. So that is a little heartfelt thing right there after completing the mission. We also just finished that talk with them, head back to the tower where we listen to a little message at the radio by the ghost right there, talk to him. It is a nice little message that we hear from Ikora and Zavala, where you head back to Cade by those boxes, and the third step where you actually claim the weapon Still Hunt. Like I said, pairs with Celestial and that golden gun. It feels very, very crispy, very stable inside of the PvE realm. Gonna be super fun to pair with the Solar subclass as well as Prismatic. Now you can see for this weapon we got some perks on this bad boy. Golden munitions. This magazine gains bonus ammo whenever a golden gun shot is acquired, so we charge it up in a way down below with Cade's retribution, picking up orbs or landing precision hits to charge the super bar. Once full, we hold our reload button to change into a golden gun shot, and it does do a lot of damage for sure. It is a super super interesting thing that we can use to juice damage. I'm interested to see what kind of rotations people get for this inside of damage, because you do have to charge it up, but with Celestial, kind of nasty. On top of that, Sharpshooter, this weapon gains passive bonus to target acquisition, ADS, and flinch resistance. The bonus increases when we are in the super mode, so it was a lot of fun to go through this strike with. We were able to deal a good amount of damage on a lot of enemies. Like I said, it'll pair very, very well with the prismatic as well as the solar subclass, so I'm excited to test this thing out, do a little bit more damage testing with it, and see if we can get some pretty gnarly rotations on it. Might take the place of something like an Izanagi's Burden. Yes, Izanagi's, you don't have to charge up like this one, but it shoots pretty quickly, so being able to do those precision hits at least with it, maybe something like a Divinity Bubble will be able to proc it obviously as well, so might be able to charge it up pretty quickly, as well as some of those orbs of power. Being able to have that with a golden gun, then do something like a bait and switch rocket or a bait and switch grenade launcher might be pretty disgusting, especially on like a Lucky Pants Hunter as well. So we'll see how this all goes. Hot swap between that and a Celestial Nighthawk, but definitely a fun little weapon to use. Hopefully this helped you guys grab this weapon. A very fun little mission, and we get to see a little bit more interaction and backstory between the Crow and Cade. So thank you guys again for coming back to the channel. Means a lot. Y'all blew up that first video that we posted for the final shape, which gave you guys the access to all of our new exotics, so thank y'all for that. If y'all enjoy the channel, don't be afraid to like and subscribe. Smack that bell if you haven't, so you get those notifications for all these banger videos, and keep up to date on the channel. Twitter's a good place, Discord as well, that we have all down in the description, so take a look at that, and I will catch you guys in the next one tomorrow. Peace.